Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for the beautiful day we have today. Thank you for this Rotary Club and all the good it does in our community. And please be with everybody, protect their health and their families as they go into the holiday season. Amen.
Amen.
Flag salute.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And four-way test.
Is it truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
And do we have a song?
We do. It's Christmas time and it's not raining, so it sounds like Joy to Me. How about Joy to the World? Joy to the world, the Lord is come. Let earth receive her King. Let every heart prepare him room. And heaven and nature sing, and heaven and nature sing, and heaven and nature sing.
Does it seem like we sounded better when the high school kids were here with us? We were missing them. Do we have any visiting Rotarians in the room today? Any visiting Rotarians? Any guests of Rotarians?
I brought my wife and taxi driver with me here today, Sylvia.
Hi, Sylvia.
Any other guests today? In the room. Awesome. Okay, club business. And I tried to get around the room, but if you have an announcement on top of what we already have, feel free to raise your hand. First person up is Louie. Where's Louie at in the room?
You know, someday, Dan, I'm going to have to explain that Standing Up babies. You know, Gary Hansen was one that started it. Next week, folks, we got a program for fishermen. And Rick, pay attention. Douglas Berlin from Puget Sound Energy, he's the fishery supervisor for the Baker River project for sockeye. I think he was here, several years ago and spoke about starting up that sockeye program. Well, he's going to be here next Thursday and tell us all about how it's working out and what the future is going to be. So, fishermen, be here.
Next person up, Bill, do you want to talk a little bit about crystal ball?
Yes. We're having a crystal ball meeting right here for about 5 minutes after the meeting.
I have, wow, that's loud. I've gone through the test and so did my Mosher, and I think we've got answers to all the questions, or maybe all but one, but we're just gonna go through that, and then every member of the committee and anybody else in the club who wants to submit questions for the next test, please do so as soon as possible. We're hoping to have the crystal ball meeting on February 1st.
So, just a little bit of an announcement. One of our members, Eric Stendel, has had health issues, and he's up at St. Joe's right now. And Bill, do you know if he's taking visitors? Does anybody know if he's taking visitors up there right now?
I don't think so. He had open heart surgery.
Brock.
And I talked with Heidi and she was going to see him, but she didn't say, he's not doing real well right now, so I kind of doubt it.
Okay, so we'll see that we get a card sent up to him, and if anybody in the club hears that he is taking visitors, so Brock, if you have knowledge of that, send it
I
over.
think it has to do with if anybody has a cold or stuff like that, so it might be just best not to do anything for another
Got
couple
it.
days.
Yep. Okay, so I just want to let everybody know, and keep Eric and his family in your hearts and prayers. Also, Carl, do we have anniversaries today?
We've got anniversaries. I've got flowers here. We've got a giveaway. And first on the docket, we got Sue Dick Stratoff. I want Sue to tell us about her first kiss.
No, I don't think you do. Dick and I will have been married 29 years on the 29th, so next Friday. Wonderful, very wonderful years.
Let's give him a round of applause. I know Ken has got an anniversary. Does anybody else that's here have one? And especially new members. This month is like, Chuck, when is your anniversary test? Amazing. Good, you passed, good, okay. So one of the things that is not in our radar are all new Rotarians, because we have about 10 of them in the last 3 months. We gotta get their anniversaries on the books, so speak up if you have one. Now, Ken, I'd like to kiss you, but I won't. Yeah, and I think you need to tell us all about your Sparking days with Janine.
We were married 23 days on December 12th. She couldn't be here. She
23 days?
23 years. 23 years. It just seems like 23 days. It's so cool. She also was at work today, so I brought Phil, cheap date. Neither one of us had lunch, so pretty cheap date. And you guys that drink coffee at Whitby, say hi to my wife, wish her a happy anniversary. Mark, you're there usually every day, right? Every other day. And Mark Nielsen, you're there with an antenna or something on a truck or something like that?
Funny.
So anyhow, great, three kids, 2 grandkids, which is weird, because I'm only 45.
Thank you, Ken. Round of applause. Now, on my list also, we have Brian and Joni Gansky. They are not here today, I don't think. And we also have Mike and Lisa Janicki, who are not here. So, Mr. President?
Yep. So, we have fisheries next week as a program. I've already got the January programs up on the PowerPoint. I will be sending out an email. Please check your emails when you see them coming from the Rotary, because we'll give you updates. But our first program in January, I believe is it the 4th? Is the first Thursday? And Phil, are you going to be here for that meeting on the 4th?
Yes.
No, I tried to bring something up while you guys were talking back there, just to catch you.
I won't be there.
Yeah.
Ken will be here with me, and so will Daryl.
And what are we going to cover that on that program?
We're going to talk about a little bit about the levy law that's coming up in February.
So we got a really big levy and bond for our school district, and so we have a program that we can get all up to speed on what that looks like. That'll be on January 4th, so I'll try and send out some, anybody that wants to know about that, we should have a good attendance for that meeting. Any other announcements from the floor? Awesome. Okay, do we have a raffle?
We do have a raffle. Good. Just if you're looking for something, I was in Pier 1 and they have all these really fancy maps in there just the other day if you were looking for something. First of all, who doesn't have their badge on? Tim, you can pick up and I guess Ken's picking up. So, any birthdays or anniversaries? Birthdays are $2, anniversaries are free.
What does he owe for not having his badge?
There may be new people here this week. If we missed you last week, you can pay this week. And finally, or next is who has not got their silent auction items in or an item in. That will cost you $2 this week, as I told you last week. He's got a total of 5 turned in, so there's probably going to be a lot of $2 here.
Yeah, no.
Finally, going around here, this year has been filled with nothing but seems like bad news every time you turn on the TV or the radio or read open the newspaper. So I decided to try to find a few things that were kind of good or people doing good things. And we'll ask some questions about that. And I don't expect you to get the answers to any of them, so it's all reading. But there was 2 young boys who got swept away in a riptide in Panama City, Florida. And the family went out to get them, but all of a sudden bystanders showed up and they formed a human chain to save the two boys. How many people were in the chain?
118.
Put your hand. It was 80. They saved the boys, so $1 each there. In Las Vegas, there was a young man named Jonathan Smith, who was a copy machine repairman. He was credited with saving a number of lives in the shooting in Las Vegas. How many people did he get credit for saving in the shooting? After he got shot in the neck. 30. So you're on the right track, Mark. There is a disease that the Israeli scientists announced a new treatment for that it's got a lot of attention. And can you tell me what disease it's for? Hepatitis. Is that your answer? Lou Gehrig's disease. So they're working sometime this year. And the Hurricane Harvey happened, and there was an airline that flew a plane load of puppies out of there. And what was that operation called? No, it was called Operation Pets Alive, and it was by Southwest Airlines. There was a storm sometime during the winter, and since the politicians get along so well, two of them, one Republican and one Democrat, had to drive 1,600 miles to get back to Washington, D.C. For a vote, and they got along all the way back there, and now drove together 1,600 miles. What state did they drive from? What was the answer? Texas. Lou Gehrig's disease. You know, it didn't really say anything that I found. Sorry. What device was invented in 2017 for helping the burn victims? What was the name of that? A device was invented in 2017 for helping burn victims. It's called a skin gun, and what they do is spray victims with their own stem cells, and it causes the skin to regrow with no scars. So,
Wow.
I didn't say it. There was two of you, there was Tim, you can help out. You don't have to pay. There is a woman who had her wedding called off her wedding right before it, but had already rented the hall and bought the food and couldn't get a refund. What'd she do with the money?
Well, she invited homeless people or something to come and have
That's right.
a free dinner.
Yeah, invited homeless people in to eat all the food.
Yeah. Ellen, I told you there's a reason you're sitting at our table.
Yes.
How much had she paid that she didn't get a refund on?
That she didn't get a refund on?
How much money did she spend to feed the
I think it was,
homeless?
how much money did she spend
Yeah,
to feed them?
well-
I think it was like 23,000.
Pretty close to 30, so.
We'll pay about it.
Do we have any happy bucks?
For posterity. I have a happy about.
I'm I've got a couple happy bucks. I'm going to get my money's worth here. Hi, Tim. Today's the darkest, longest day of the year for darkness, so after today it's going to get lighter all the way through until next July. So that's a celebration with that. Second thing, Mark and I went to the Lyman Community fundraiser that they had last Saturday up at Lyman for the families that lost their homes in the last flood we had. And they raised almost $22,000 in one night. That's pretty impressive, so that's great too. And the last thing, my kids from Louisiana fly in tonight for Christmas, so we're happy about that.
Mark, I think it's going to cost you an extra $1 because actually June is the longest day, not July.
Sorry. No wonder I'm always on. I'll give you 5.
Any more happy months?
I got happy 5. Last night they finally kicked me out of City Hall, so I have Wednesday evenings free. So we're gonna have to start playing poker or something to occupy those evenings.
Okay, I have a happy 20, and this is for the Senior Center because we were awarded a 2017 Outstanding Employer of the Year Award from Washington Vocational Services. And I'm going to read you the definition of Washington Vocational Services. And they're a nonprofit staffing agency that has been providing valuable workforce development services within Washington State since 1976. Their dedicated team provides employment services to persons with a variety of skills, abilities, and specializing in services to persons who are deaf or hard of hearing and persons with disabilities who desire customized employment services. So we don't employ them and pay them, but they're volunteers, which is to us the same thing. So we're very grateful for that, and we love our folks that come to the center.
I have a happy month. My son, daughter-in-law, and granddaughter are coming over this year from Walla Walla for Christmas, which they do every other year. Because her parents are in Walla Walla, so they flip-flop. But last time they came over, it took them 12 hours to get across Snoqualmie Pass and here. It ain't gonna happen this year.
Any more happy bucks?
Okay, so this club is always about making a difference. You see our motto for this year from our Rotary International President. And our program today is definitely about making a difference. And this club, we have donated money, in case you forgot, to purchase a side-by-side bicycle for the equipment they need in Special Olympics. And we were going to try and get the check today to Tim, and we're still working on that, but hopefully we'll do that shortly. He said he's not worried about us. But with that, I'm going to turn it over to Rich to introduce our program.
Thank you. Today is going to be an interesting early leavers. Is Tim Halloran, who is the county administrator. He's been doing that for about 10 years here. He's been with Skagit County for 38 years. More importantly, what he wants to talk about today, or is going to talk about today, is his involvement with Special Olympics. It's one of those organizations I think that we hear a lot and everybody sort of knows what it is, but we don't know what it is in our community or what they've done in our community. Tim's been involved in it, like I said, 41 years, and I think you will find this program very interesting. So with that,
First of all, thank you. I want to let you know that 41 years involved in any organization is pretty amazing. And the reason I'm involved with Special Olympics, back in college, they just started Special Olympics nationwide. I went to the University of Connecticut. They started a program there, and I got involved. I was in the School of Education. and heard about this program, and I saw the magic of the program. I've been here 38 years in Skagit County. Witness relocation is a wonderful thing. I'm only going to have luck with that. But I see many friends in the room. Working for Skagit County for so many years. Originally, I was the director of senior services. I helped work with the city to build a facility next door. The Rotary Club was very involved. It was an amazing way to build a facility. You couldn't do it today. A lot of people up on the roof up and create the facility, and it's a wonderful facility. But I got the opportunity to work with a special population of seniors countywide. Now I work with a special population of county commissioners. For the last 10 years, I've been able to work on some global issues. You don't celebrate opening a new jail. I know Mark Ben's been very involved with that, with the committee, but it's something our community needed. So on a basic level, starting Special Olympics way back when, I came to Skagit County and there was no program here. There was one in the Sedro Woolley School District way back when, and the teachers, it was part of their school curriculum. And at some point, that program went away, so it became a community-based program. I got together with a bunch of people and said, let's start a program here. And I did a quick little slideshow here, just to kind of give you a quick overview. First off, Special Olympics on the local level is run all by volunteers. It's nobody gets paid, and we do fundraising when we need stuff. The state organization, which is in Seattle, supports us with the local competitions. And I have many, many friends in Special Olympics. We have a program in Anacortes that we started. They don't commute to Skagit County across the bridge to come to Mount Vernon or wherever we have our practices. They have their own program going over there, and it's thriving. Barb Hawkins, who's the superintendent of schools, was the superintendent of schools up in Concrete. Every Sunday, she brings her son down to basketball practice at Mount Baker School. I mean, it's just amazing stuff. We have athletes coming all over the place to our practices. In Skagit County, we have over 200 special individuals participating in Special Olympics. That's a pretty cool thing. And you know, the thing that I can say is it's not just about sports. It's about inclusion and getting to know these people. And the one thing I want to say, a disclaimer, is that Special Olympics isn't for everybody. Not everybody's into sports. And I got to tell you, when you come to one of our practices, on Tuesday nights, it's our lower functionings. It's not about sports. They're bouncing a basketball and they're doing this and that, but it's all about the interaction and getting to know each other. When you see them in the grocery store, you see they have a special job. It's the connection and the inclusion. You know, many of our athletes, Brian Baker there is in the picture. He's on one of those recumbent bikes. Brian works for the county. I convinced the county commissioners one year to start an internship program. And he works a half a day. He's happy. He lives in downtown Mount Vernon. He does custodial work. He's got a purpose in life. He has a routine. He gets up every day, has his routine, comes, and he's a, you know, it's kind of like the greeter at Walmart. Everybody loves Brian. He's not the most productive employee, but we have a social responsibility to make sure these people, as they get through the school systems, they can stay in the schools till they're 21 if a parent chooses, finding jobs. Part of my job is to advocate. Larry's here, and Larry's one of my higher functioning, this is Larry Simpson, one of my higher functioning athletes, and you want to find a good worker, Larry can work for you. I got him a job out at Skagit Gardens, talk to Gary, and hard worker. You know, Gary turns to me and he says, one thing about Larry is he's always going to tell you a better way to do it. One thing I'm going to tell you right now, as I speak now, once he starts talking, he's going to correct everything I say. I've been here before. But Larry's high functioning. At one point, way back when, Larry was washing dishes. Then he became a counselor for other disabled folks. And then recently, he works for Skagit Gardens. Everything was going great, Skagit Gardens. Hard worker. The displays down there and the like. I said to Gary, how's it working out? He says, we've had a few bumps. And I said, like what? He says, well, one day I overheard Larry was making recommendations to people they can find cheaper stuff at Lowe's or Costco. Kind of a problem. And Larry will tell you otherwise, but you know, that's Gary's take on it. But it's been a real success story, and Larry's a real hard worker. But I guess what I'm saying is Special Olympics is about sports. And my thing is with sports is for years and years and years, we ran programs. It's not the special kids on the court. We run it as they call the unified concept. We have community members or peers on the court with special athletes. And some nights you might think, I'm special out there. It's the inclusion. When we play volleyball, everybody's on the court. All the volunteers are on the court. We're not standing on the side. It's the inclusion aspect that's real healthy. So right now, the school systems have embraced, for many, many years, the school systems didn't embrace Special Olympics because it wasn't the mainstreaming concept. We were treating them special. They were just special. But we wanted integration. So once Special Olympics adopted that concept, right now we have soccer teams in a lot of the high schools and the school systems for special education, and they have peers on the same team. So you might have a six-a-side soccer, and it's three of the peers, 3 classmates, and 3 special people competing against kids in Bellingham, Oak Harbor, Sedro, Woolley, or Burlington. So it's starting to grow in the school systems now too. So part of my job is to advocate for my special friends. It's usually each sports season is 10 weeks, and it's usually, everybody says how old do you have to be? 8 years old. So we have some little tiny buggers coming in, and a lot of times I tell the parents, come and see how they like it, see how it works. Like with cycling, we did some of the big wheel things because they couldn't handle the bikes yet, but we wanted to do the progression thing. Now you have those little Strider bikes and stuff. So we're trying to do stuff with younger athletes. And I got to tell you, the magic, the bike that you're buying, the side-by-side recumbent, is amazing. Because you sit alongside somebody, and it's not like a normal tandem bike where you're behind him and somebody's nervous. You're talking to them, and you have that bonding together. And the Skagit Bicycle Club bought us one a year ago, and we got a lineup of parents wanting to ride with their son or daughter, siblings, neighbors, athletes that want to ride alongside each other. So buying a second one is really, really going to help us a lot. So I want to up front thank you for that. Andrew Ramsey, I don't know, Wayne Ramsey, you know Wayne who works in the school system? Well, you've probably seen Andrew at some of the events. He's autistic. And with many autistic kids, they can't tolerate noise. You'll see him at an event with he comes to our basketball practice. He came for a number of years, and we're pretty flexible how we run stuff. Everybody has a basketball. On Tuesday nights, there could be 40 or 50 athletes in 2 gyms, just bouncing basketballs and having fun, and then we get into a game situation. He doesn't play the game. He just walks around and shoots. Once in a while, we'll bring him into the game and take a shot. For 2 years, I didn't hear 2 words out of him. Very nonverbal. He got on one of these recumbent bikes, and he talked the blue streak. It was amazing. It was one of those magic moments. All the coaches are standing around saying, is that the same kid? His dad said he can have the worst day possible, and then he comes and he gets on the bike. All he cares about is the bike. It's some of those connections they talk about with kids with autism, sometimes puzzles. I got to tell you, that was one of those magic moments with somebody that I consider to be, low functioning, nonverbal, but it was those magic moments. It's not the high functioning athlete that gets to go to the World Games. It's those low functionings, or the little kid who can never reach the basket and using the smaller basketball, and finally they make a basket, and everybody's just like ecstatic. It's that inclusion. So 10 weeks, different sports, and somebody says, well, they have to get what I call a physical or an application for participation. The doctor has to give us all the medical background. Do they have seizures? So they do that, and it's good for 3 years. So if you know somebody who's special, they want to get their kid in the program, contact me. One of our problems is the state has a website. We used to have a website at one time, and the state said no more local websites. So now what they're doing is they're telling us the communications are on us. So we have a leadership Skagit group that's going to take on Special Olympics. And I'm asking them to help me with Instagram and Facebook. And how can we capture some videos and some pictures of our athletes so that parents can connect, and so high school kids, middle school kids, and college kids can help volunteer. biggest challenge is, is volunteers. It's hard to get volunteers these days. Years ago, you used to have somebody who volunteered for the hospital for 30 years or the senior center for 30 years. Now you got people who breeze in and breeze out. They might do this for a while, they might do that for a while, but my thing is that I tell volunteers, come to have fun, participate, and you don't have to come every week. And it's what I call the emotional hook. Once they feel that little connection with one of the special athletes, they come back. So, our program has been one of the strongest programs in the state because of the volunteers and the community support. As I tell everybody, I tell my special athletes, if you're having a bad day, check your attitude at the door or go home. And I've sent people home. We're all there to have fun. And life is too short not to have fun. I mean, not every day is fun, but if somebody comes in a real sour mood, we tell the parents, it's probably best to go home. Because, we do circle time every practice, and we talk about it. And we talk about today's events. It's amazing. At circle time, I had one parent tell me, my son's reading a paper to read how the Cougars and the Huskies have done. He never even knew who the Cougars and the Huskies were. But we talk about the Seahawks. We talk about the volleyball, the women's volleyball team at the University of Washington. We'll talk about what they see speed skating. And they'll bring up the day's events. If we had practice the other day, we would have talked about the poor train tragedy. They would be talking about it. Because it's again, that's the inclusion. We don't duck some of the issues. Some of the athletes around the table say, my grandfather died. And we'll talk about death. And we'll talk about the happy thoughts. We don't want everybody to have a downer, but you need to talk about that stuff. So it's more than just Special Olympics. I guess I use that, the competition. We do 10 weeks of training. There's usually, we compete locally against other teams, and we compete regionally, and then we go on the state level. Now, our basketball teams, we decided we're only going to take 2 basketball teams to regionals. Because it's a long day, and it's hard. They basically compete on an ability level, and it's hard to figure out what ability level you're at, and go down and they may score 2 baskets and the other team scored 30. So we put our own local competition in. So we always go to a local place and get pizza. I talk about every athlete. The parents are thrilled, the kids have a great day. The higher functionings go down and they compete. If they don't win, they don't advance. And that's reality to them. The oath is let me win, but if I cannot win, let me be brave in the attempt. And some of the athletes say, but if I don't win, I don't get to go to state. And they kind of adapted the motto. But it's normalization, and I guess that's the reality of things.
Pointed towards the left.
Okay. So the history of Special Olympics, for those you don't know, Eunice Kennedy Shriver started in her backyard with family members and neighbors way back in 1968. So I went to UConn. 69 was my first year at UConn, so it was 70, 71 I was involved in it. So that's how long I've been involved in it, because I again believe in it. We've seen remarkable growth, visibility, and then it talks about unified sports there. Again, that's where Special Olympics finally started getting it, that it's unified. Larry and I will talk a little bit, but we went back to Toronto together. Why don't you pull your skates up? Unified sports. So you'll see the different opportunities, but Larry and I went back to Toronto to compete in World Games. And it's a unified sport, which means there were 2 partners on the team and 2 special athletes. Larry and I were part of a relay team. And if you've ever watched, you might have seen some speed skating on, but Larry and I, we were training up in Whatcom County for a while, but they closed the ice rink up there. So Larry and I went up to Canada every weekend and trained in speed skating. Larry went from figure skates to speed skates. We purchased these skates. How sharp are they, Larry? Show them with your nail.
It takes part of the nail off.
So you have to wear a neck gaiter. You have to wear leather gloves. They were showing the Olympics this weekend, 40 miles an hour in a turn. This is the neck gaiter. This is the stuff that Larry had. These boots, there's a heat gun. That's how it fits you. That's how tight it is. And, it's carbon fiber. And then we got an opportunity to go on the Key Arena. They did a special on this, and we were the first speed skater on the ice down there at Key Arena. So we're practicing, and you know, in a relay, in front of you, you're watching. If you get a chance to watch a relay, there's a passing zone, and what you do is you come behind the person and you push them. That's how you do a relay speed skating. But if you have 4 teams doing a relay, and you're watching your guy coming around the rink, you have to get enough speed on the inside of the rink and pop out to that area at the same speed so they can push you. So if you watch the inside of that, if you see a relay, watch the inside. I mean, it's nuts. You got 4 teams, guys just jockeying each other, getting out there. And the one thing you don't want to do is when you push somebody, you want to make sure you make sure you're facing straight. So Larry and I are waiting for the camera crew. We're practicing a little bit. Larry put me on my tail.
No, almost. You did crossovers. Correct? Before you hit the wall.
Anyway, it's very technical, and it was pretty amazing experience to go to Toronto. We went to Lake Placid at the Olympic grounds there. We're on the outside oval, and there's a young kid, a high school kid out of Illinois, Mark Barber, 6'6", and this kid was as smooth as butter. I mean, he's 6'6", he's throwing his leg out there, and he's going around the oval, and just got to, he's part of my team, and we're talking, and the Olympic team came out with their colors. They come out in the oval, and one kid goes right, "Hey, Mark." "Mark, you know those guys?" He goes, "Yeah, we're part of the same team back home." That's the level. Some of the Special Olympics times, he was the fastest skater in Toronto, were equaling the Olympic times years ago. So it's the abilities, not the disabilities that we focus on. And then go back to, you know, again, they're setting some of the records in Special Olympics. Larry had an opportunity to go to, where's that place?
I went to
on cycling?
Cycling, I went to Ireland.
Ireland. So Larry got to represent in Washington, in the United States and Ireland. And I gotta tell you, Larry, we do our cycling practice at the college, Sketch Valley College, on the truck track. It's a quarter-mile oval, banked, 2 lanes, and we get really good cornering, as you go around corners a lot. But then, you know, Larry was progressing, and I said to Larry, I got him involved with the Sketch Bicycle Club. I took him out on some rides, because he had to have more experience. And I remember one day we took him out to ride, and then we decided to go up Wall Hill.
What you said, we only do right-hand turns. I forgot where we were at.
So we went up the hill, training up this hill. I don't know if you know Wall Hill, it's a good-sized hill in Alberta. And we were going up a couple of times. And the third time, he kind of said, well, he didn't want to do it anymore. I think it's a little colorful, tell me he didn't want to go for my time. And I just turned around, well, then you might as well turn home and ride back to Burlington, because I was going to give you a ride home. When he went to the World Games in Ireland, I know the coach from Colorado. Coach called me afterwards. Larry set 2 world records for Special Olympics on the bike. Averaging better than 20 miles an hour in a couple of races. I think the 3rd race, you said it was raining and you couldn't set records?
Yeah, but I still won that race by
So again, I'm just telling you, and I remember teaching Larry, you know, when you're out on the road, you have to, you know, worry about dogs coming out. How do you deal with a dog? You know, and you do a spray bottle, and a lot of times I told him, you know, sometimes you have to go right at the dog, you get real low, and you get back on your seat so you don't go over the handlebars. A couple weeks later, he comes, I got my first dog.
It was my foot.
You know, something wrong with my teaching. Again, right now here in the valley, we did a lot of different sports. We did ice skating. We used to take kids up to Bellingham every weekend. We don't do that anymore right now. We have so many kids in bowling and volleyball. We do basketball. Again, we have a large number, probably 70 kids involved in basketball. The cool thing in basketball, when we do circle time, we just sit there. Instead of telling people to keep quiet and stuff, we'll start drumming on the basketballs. It sounds like we have a drum corps, and they all do it. until they get it all out of themselves and then they stop. I mean, we have a lot of fun, I gotta tell you. So, we have aquatics, cycling, and soccer. So those are the sports that we currently offer. Gentleman on the left is Stanley. You can't tell, but Stanley's got a little gap, and he looks like the gap. I mean, he looks like a second for Michael Strahan. I mean, it's amazing. So we joke about that and just laugh about it. Zach Helgeson, that's when he was younger. I don't know if you know the Helgeson family. Zach graduated from high school. He's like Mr. Macho now. And I wanted to show a picture of how young he was, and it's pretty amazing kid. And Joan Good, you'll see that she did a lot. She went to nationals and world games and that kind of stuff as well. Joni used to work in Burlington at the Thrifty Foods there. It used to be Thrifty Foods when they closed it. And now she's at Hagen's and Mount Vernon and stuff. So again, volunteers are our lifeblood. If people want to help, they come out and check us out. Leadership Sketch is going to come to a couple of our practices. We usually divide our practices into different ability levels. On Tuesday nights, it's all what I call the lower functionings, where kids are learning lots of skills. On Sundays, when we practice from 9 to 11, we can only use the gym when it's available. Sometimes it goes head-to-head with church, but it's high-functioning kids. I mean, kids that hit three-point shots, kids that block a shot. I run with the kids, and getting to the point where I'm not sure I can run with the kids as much as I used to, but it's fun. I mean, it's a pretty high-level basketball as well. I think there's a dentist in Burlington now who played up at Western. I invite him to come out and see our program, and maybe he can give some pointers. But again, some of these kids are legitimate three-point shots. Just pop them up. So, but they really appreciate. This guy may look a little familiar. I was amazed a few years ago when we have volunteers who do training workshops in each sport. And Special Olympics International prints these books, and it teaches you everything about cycling, about the clothes and how you teach it and all the different progressions. This is Larry on the cover. Unbeknownst to, so this is all over the nation. And I get this thing in the mail, and it's Larry, and it's just a picture. I don't know what competition was that, in Ireland?
No, yeah.
Anyway, so I'll pass this around, but we're amazed to see one of our locals on a national periodical. So real quick, there's a lot of words on the screen right here, but in 1983, Larry Russell, he used to live up in Concord, passed away, since passed away. He went to LSU, and he participated in track and field. Terry Hall, who lives out by Big Lake, and Joan Good, who you saw the picture of, they went to, in '87, went to University of Notre Dame, and they both competed. I think they both bowled, they were bowlers. Larry, this was kind of special. In 1995, I went back as a coach, but Larry went back as an official. And it's unusual. They had a new concept. They wanted to see how much special athletes could do. And Larry was trained as a cycling official and learned how to, what they call run the whip. When you're winding people up, what was illegal on the bike, what was legal. He could stage them for a time trial or a road race.
Yes, the track star where you just stand right behind a bicycle like this, and he tested me out one time. He leaned all the way over to see I could still keep him upright.
So in a time trial, which is what I was talking about, they could have their feet in a ready position, and so you held the bike up. And then when they do the countdown, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, the athlete can just get going. On a road race, you can't have any assistance, so Larry learned how to do a lot of this. And I gotta tell you, Eunice Kennedy Shriver walked the talk, and she was walking around in New Haven, and she came up to me and she says, "Who's that guy? Who's that athlete?" And I told her who he was and stuff, and she was so impressed with Larry. She interacted with Larry.
Mm-hmm. And we did awards. Me and her did hand out awards with the athletes. Every time I backed up, he kept on scooting me up there.
So again, Eunice saw how well he did and had him present awards under Special Olympics and stuff. So I just want to show you the capabilities, not so much the disabilities. It was 97 that Larry and I went back to Toronto to the speed skating competition. And they have skiing. We have skiers in the area that, again, we don't form a ski team, but if we knew somebody and a parent wanted to train their athlete on a one-to-one, we can get them involved in Special Olympics if they go skiing together. We have a couple parents who want to do it with golf right now. Their sons or daughters play golf. And so there's that opportunity that people can do it one-on-one and become a coach themselves. In 2001, Kevin Deegan from Burlington went to Alaska and he competed in ice skating. 2003, Larry went to Dublin, Ireland. We talked about that. Joan Good, the picture I talked about. Joan went back to People's Republic of China. Hey, Larry? Yeah. We got to work on this. Joan got to go back to China. Amazing. She got to live. She actually stayed with a family in China, learned what they ate and all that kind of stuff. It was what a unique opportunity. Again, she went as a cyclist. Jack Whitmer went back to Newark, New Jersey in the National Games. And the National Games are going to be in Seattle. They have to, every 4 years, you kind of put a bid out. Seattle's going to host the first National Games in the region. So a year ago, I came up with the idea of maybe we could have a volleyball team. Volleyball wasn't a real big sport, and I wanted to start the sport. So I converted a bunch of basketball players and taught them how to play volleyball. And we got kids from Everett and Linden coming down on this regional team. That's why we call the team Northwest Net. It's not Skagit County, whatever. It's a Northwest team. And it's pretty amazing commitment. Some of these kids drive themselves every week. Every so often, I'll give them a little gas money and the like. But so a week ago, we had a state tournament, and I'll tell you, I was pretty proud. They came through and they won the whole tournament. So they will represent Washington as the only volleyball team. So this talks about Special Olympics, how it showcases people's abilities and inclusion. That's the big word as well. Excuse me, the games this summer, it'll be July 1st through the 6th. There'll be 4,000 coaches, athletes, and chaperones, 10,000 volunteers in 14 different sports. So if you have an opportunity, I know it's 4th of July weekend, but there'll be a lot of coverage, there'll be a lot of television. It'll be mostly around the University of Washington, is my understanding. So when I tell you we have fun, that's a true shot on the left. I think there's 9 basketballs in the room. It was amazing. You know, once in a while the nets are tight, and all the kids sit around and see how many balls they can get up there. So I think we have fun. This gentleman on the right, Caleb Cates. You recognize Caleb?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
He's a really guy. He played goalie. He's a really good three-point shooter. But I wanted to show that there's a lot of local athletes involved as well. And finally, I want to thank you for supporting us with the side-by-side recumbent. Despite the special, these are actually 2 individual bikes put together, and it rides much different than what you see in the stores, the high-centered ones. These things move pretty well. So again, I want to thank you. I don't know if anybody has any questions. Long program that went on a lot, but you can understand I have a lot of passion. Mark?
Tim, how do you get involved? You just contact you or what?
Yeah, best bet to contact me until we get the Facebook thing set up. You can find me in the book or through the county administrator's office. This is, I just threw this together the other night, so. Anyway, thank you.
Carl, could you kind of grab the medals so Larry can put them on? We're going to get a picture of him over front here with his medals. And then we'll close up this meeting. Boy, what a great thing for our Rotary Club to be supporting Special Olympics. So Tim, if I could get you up and Larry, get those medals on, come on, we want to see you wearing all these